The numbers alone are jarring. Right now, at the start of 2026, the federal government has somewhere between 212,000 and 317,000 fewer civilian employees than it did just 1 year ago. That's a drop of roughly 9 to 14% of the entire workforce. And this isn't just a proposal that's already happening, driven by aggressive buyouts, targeted layoffs, and a radical new vision for government. It all started just days after the Trump administration returned to the White House. Section 1. The Purge begins. DOGE and the Great Buyout. On January 20, 2025, President Trump signed an executive order creating a powerful new entity, the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. Headed up by tech billionaire Elon Musk, DOGE's stated mission was to modernize technology, slash regulations, and cut wasteful spending. Its first big move was swift and massive. Just a week after it was created, the Office of Personnel Management, or OPM, blasted an email to nearly 2 million federal employees with an offer nobody saw coming, a deferred resignation program. Here's how it worked. Anyone who agreed to resign would get their full pay and benefits through the end of the fiscal year. It was a strategic play to fast-track the administration's goal of shrinking the government, and over 150,000 federal workers took the deal. But the buyouts were only the beginning. Tens of thousands more were laid off, with thousands let go during a contentious government shutdown in the fall of 2025. DOGE, even after Musk's eventual departure, became the engine for all these changes. It facilitated mass layoffs, helped dismantle targeted agencies, and was reportedly given broad access to government data to carry out its mission, while DOGE claimed it was saving billions. Critics and budget experts argued that cuts were driven more by politics than thrift. Some independent analyses even suggested the moves would ultimately cost taxpayers billions in lost revenue and mismanagement. The administration's own numbers from late 2025 showed a net workforce decrease of nearly 11%. Even after hiring 68,000 new people, the message was unmistakable. This was a deliberate and rapid downsizing of the federal bureaucracy. Section 2. The controversial blueprint. What is Schedule F? Perhaps the most controversial tool in the administration's arsenal is the revival of a policy known as Schedule F. First floated back in 2020 but cancelled by the next administration, Schedule F was brought back by executive order on day one of the new term. It represents one of the biggest challenges to the modern civil service in decades. So, what is Schedule F? Simply put, it's a whole new job classification. It lets the administration take tens of thousands of career federal employee scientists, analysts, attorneys, manage and reclassify them. This move strips them of their long-held civil service protections, which are designed to prevent people from being fired for political reasons. Essentially, it turns career experts into at-will employees who can be fired for almost anything, including just not seeming aligned enough with the president's agenda. The administration's defense. They say it's all about accountability, ensuring the president's agenda is actually carried out and removing so-called rogue bureaucrats. The White House has said employees don't need to personally support the president, but they must faithfully implement the law and the administration's policies. But critics see something far more dangerous, a direct assault on the non-partisan civil service. They warn it clears the way to replace experienced professionals with political loyalists, gutting institutional knowledge and expertise. The immediate target for Schedule F is an estimated 50,000 employees in policy-related roles, and it's happening fast. As we speak, in early 2026, the final rules to make this happen are expected any day now. Federal agencies have already handed in their lists of jobs to be converted, setting the stage for a massive power shift inside the government. Section 3. The other hammers, RFS, and hiring freezes beyond the flashy buyouts in Schedule F. The administration is using other more traditional methods to shrink the government. One of the most direct is the reduction in force, or RIF. A RIF is basically a formal process for laying people off because of reorganization, lack of work, or budget cuts. During the government shutdown in the fall of 2025, the administration used the chaos as cover to send layoff notices to over 4,000 employees across 7 different agencies. Federal unions immediately sued, and a judge hit the brakes with a temporary restraining order. Congress later tucked a provision into the funding bill that paused all RIFs until January 30, 2026. Now, the administration eventually dropped its appeal, but the threat hasn't gone away. The agencies have taken back the layoff notices for now, but say they will reassess after that January deadline. On top of the layoffs, there's also a government-wide hiring freeze. It's not absolute, but agencies are now under a strict 4-out 1-in rule, meaning for every 4 people who leave, only 1 can be hired. New staffing plans now require a sign-off from political leadership. And there's another change happening. OPM is overhauling performance reviews with a forced distribution system. This basically puts a cap on how many people can get top ratings, which could decide everything from who gets a promotion to who's first on the chopping block in the next round of layoffs. Section 4. The real-world impact. Who is being targeted? So who's actually getting cut? Well, these reductions are anything but random. They are strategically aimed at reorienting the government's priorities and dismantling programs the administration considers bloated or out of step with its ideology. Areas like foreign aid, diversity and equity initiatives, climate science, and vaccine development have all seen major cuts to staff and funding, and some agencies are getting hit much harder than others. The Department of Health and Human Services has already seen its workforce shrink dramatically, and leaked budget documents show plans to slash its funding and cut entire offices. The Pentagon is looking to cut around 60,000 civilian jobs, and the Department of Veterans Affairs has plans to eliminate up to 35,000 healthcare positions, many of which are already unfilled. Other agencies reportedly facing cuts of over 20% include the Departments of Labor, Agriculture and Housing and Urban Development. Even DOGE, in its short lifespan, got very specific, flagging individual contracts for termination, like a State Department program in Somalia and some IT services at a federal health institute. The goal is clear. The administration is using these layoffs not just to change the size of government, but to fundamentally change what it does. CTA, this is a massive ongoing story with huge implications for how our country is run. We are watching a clash between a presidential agenda and the institutions of government, and it's all coming to a head. What do you think about these changes? Are they a necessary move to drain the swamp, or a dangerous politicization of our government? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And if you're finding this breakdown useful, do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe for more reports as this situation develops. Section 5. The fight back lawsuits and looming deadlines, but this isn't happening without a fight. Federal employee unions, like the National Treasury Employees Union and the American Federation of Government Employees, have launched a full-scale legal battle. They've sued to stop Schedule F, calling it an unconstitutional attack on the civil service. The VA also filed lawsuits challenging the firing of new employees and attempts to strip away collective bargaining rights, and they've actually had some success. The courts have issued over a dozen preliminary injunctions, temporarily stopping some of the administration's plans, including those RAFs planned during the shutdown. In a significant recent win for the unions, an appeals court ruled that the administration must share its internal workforce reduction plans documents the government had tried to keep secret. This gives unions a roadmap of the planned cuts, allowing them to better prepare their legal challenges. But the biggest battle is still on the horizon, and it's all about to come down to a single date on the calendar. The short-term funding bill that ended the last government shutdown expires on January 30th, 2026. Lawmakers have to pass new spending bills or another stopgap measure to avoid another partial shutdown. That date is also when the congressional ban on any new reductions in force expires. If Congress doesn't act, thousands of federal workers could once again be facing termination, and the court battles that oppose the administration's plans could become irrelevant. All eyes are on Capitol Hill. Conclusion: what we're witnessing is more than just a series of layoffs. It's a deliberate campaign to fundamentally rewire the federal government, using powerful new tools like the Department of Government Efficiency and a revived Schedule F. The Trump administration has already cut hundreds of thousands of jobs and is moving to strip job protections from tens of thousands more. The goal is to create a leaner government that's directly responsive to the president's agenda. Supporters call it making government accountable,